I do a lot of book reports on this channel. Typically the nostalgia ones tend to do better, so Flat Stanley, Frindle, Homework Machine. And I figured, what's wrong with the weird yeehaw romance novels? It can't be because no one likes them. Well, yeah. It's gotta be because the men in the covers are usually shirtless. And YouTube's like, no male presenting nipples here. So I turned this Cowboy Wolf Christmas into Santa to make him a little bit more in the Christmas spirit. And also I think it looks a lot better like this. All I want for Christmas is for you to put on a fucking shirt.
You're videotaping the show. I do.
Butt lovers. We're gonna discuss the merch later. This book is a 7-range shifter novel. It takes place in the same universe as this book report we did back in March, but you don't have to watch that to understand this. I guarantee you, you will not understand what's going on regardless. That video was a trip from start to finish. I almost never get sponsors, but that video's sponsor was for weed gummies. Because my life is a movie. As always in the series, we're going post-it note by post-it note. I'm gonna summarize a bit of the plot, but mostly we're gonna roast a little bit. Wolf smut roasting on an open fire. I'm gonna try not to be an asshole about it. It's just for comedy. First, right off the bat, I hate to say it, but the website plug confuses me quite a bit. If you would like to know if this book has any elements of concern for you, please check out the author's website. So when I hear that, I think the website's gonna have a bunch of content warnings for each book. Wouldn't that just be easier to print inside the book itself? But there is no sign of that anywhere. It's just a catalog of her other books. So it looks like I'm just gonna have to read this book and count up all my concerns for myself. Our wolf cowboy leading man is named Silas Buck. They always pick the most Western sounding name. Silas Buck. And the first thing we hear about him is that he hates Christmas. What? One of the biggest turnoffs right on page 1. New record! Also, these books about cowboys always, without fail, doesn't matter who the author is, they mention Stetsons. And this was the last straw. I'm tired of pretending I know what they're talking about. Stetson. So it's a hat that looks like this, which makes a lot of sense, but it's also a brand. Does that brand know how much they're being promoted in these yeehaw romance novels? I'm going to write a romance novel one day, and I'm going to name drop the most unsexy brand of clothing imaginable. I laced up my stinky Adidas and ran away. He's approaching his pack, still absolutely raging about Christmas, but we get to the root of this issue. He's lonely. Like some sort of lone wolf. He curses about Hallmark romances because he wants one for himself. Aww. If you're concerned his attitude about romance stems from his resentment of women, don't worry, it absolutely does. Several females huddled near the cabin entry. At the sight of him, their group erupted in a hiss of whispers before they eased inwards, shrinking closer to one another to protect themselves from him. Their former enemy turned packmate, a walking nightmare in cowboy boots. Oh, for fuck's sake. What are you looking at? He snarled, letting his frustration loose. Abruptly, the females scattered. Ew. So we learned quite a bit from this. The lady's concerns come from his own past actions, meaning they have a reason to be weary. And 2, this dude saw a group of ladies afraid of him and proceeded to yell at them, scaring them away. And he has the gall to internally monologue, woe is me, why doesn't anybody like me? This is why. We are 2 pages in, and my concern counter is at 4. 1, he hates Christmas. He's turning it into Ickmas. Wow. 2, the use of the word females. It makes me feel like I'm watching Animal Planet, which I fear is the point. There's a lot to unpack there. 3, he makes women feel unsafe, and then acts like it's a them problem. 4, his doubling down makes me think this is going to turn into a I can fix him kind of romance, kind of like Beauty and the Beast. I've never liked this trope. Moving on from that, we're learning about different dynamics and relationships, and to make it more festive, we get Christmas comparisons. He was the Krampus to their Santa. The Packmaster looked like Ebenezer Scrooge himself. Why would they make a Christmas Carol comparison when the Christmas furry of the Grinch is right there? You're a mean one, Silas Buck. If you keep it up, you'll never get fucked. So Silas is getting an order from the pack leader to go to Missoula. And Silas doesn't want to go, saying, you know the ghosts that wait for me there, especially this time of year. I don't know if this is literal. Maybe a ghost of Christmas past, present, and future kind of situation.
Because Christmas.
Or just supernatural enemies, like the vampires they've been fighting. Yeah, they've been fighting vampires. Twilight motherfucking who? And unlike with that, we're supposed to be Team Jacob. Although somebody told me, I've never watched Twilight, somebody told me that he's not I thought that was the whole thing. Page 8, we finally meet our lady lead. Her name is Cheyenne Morgan. Again, I mean, say that with the southern twang. Cheyenne Morgan. She sounds like she's gonna be the next country singer to come out of Tennessee, you know what I mean? It's just, the names are perfect. I don't know how they do it. So she's tasked to go on this mission with him, and she sounds like his exact opposite. She's a kind-hearted daydreamer, and she smells like sugar cookies instead of shit. It made Silas suspicious because he's allergic to joy and kindness and fun. This first chapter literally ends with her accidentally falling into his lap. Whoa! Santa? Do I look like? I wrote that cutaway gag before I flipped to the next page, and guys, she cringed. This was bad. So bad. Like when she was 5 and her mother had forced her to sit on Santa's lap at that horrible human mall for a picture bad. They went for a Santa's lap joke. Twice, actually. Cheyenne's breath caught as her eyes locked with Silas's. You're not Santa. Silas growled, teeth bared. No. Calm down. Ho, ho, ho. No, no, no. Well played. Also, I love the clarification of the first line. The human mall? Is there a werewolf mall too? Here we have the skylight for moon howling, the rotting corpse of mystery meat at the food court, and there's werewolf Santa. You do not want to sit on his lap. No! Chalk up another point on the concern counter. So I wrote this before I knew where the rest of the story was going. Keep that in mind. This took me on quite the journey. So in the beginning, I really thought that Cheyenne was written way too childish and naive. She stubbornly stayed on his lap until, how do I say this in the most censored way possible? She realized where on his lap she was sitting for the past 10 minutes. How do you not notice that you're sitting on his holiday ham? You know what I mean? Like, how do you not notice that? From this realization, she started to notice more things she liked about his appearance. He's tall and has facial hair.
Wow, Cheyenne, get a grip.
There are so many tall men with facial hair that don't constantly snarl. The amount of times they've said snarl at this book, I'm not going to count them up. I don't want to revisit that. So these two apparently have history. They kissed once before when she freed him from jail? I missed a few chapters. This is part of a series. We're gonna get into it. You can preview some of the other ones below. Oh, I should have put Christmas suits on them too. Don't look at them.
Don't look at the male presenting nipples.
Anyway, so he says she was a fool to trust him. And she says in response to that, maybe I'm not in my right mind. She threw his words back at him. Whatever that means. Neurotypical wasn't the norm, the default setting, not for everyone. She glared at him, willing him to understand that for her, normal meant something different, but from the menacing look on his face, he didn't. She couldn't help but feel a bit of disappointment in that. What does neurotypical mean to wolf shifters? Just growling and fighting and shit? I feel like this book threw this at me to explain the whole lap thing going over her head. But for this aggressive guy, and for this seemingly very innocent woman, it still is feeling like a red flag at this point. Let's see how they convince me that it's not. Now, to give this book a bit of Christmas credit, there's 2 choices I've liked so far. 1, the kiss was initiated by her. I think she should continue to be the one to initiate, me personally. And 2, how do you make Silas likable? Introduce a character that's more unlikable. Create a bigger asshole he has to protect her from. The Gaston approach. Sure, Silas is sexist, but this guy is even more! Boo him instead! All of this doesn't distract from the funniest part. We really didn't break down this title. Cowboy Wolf Christmas. Alright, we're writing a new rom-com. Let's roll the rom-com dice. Australia penguins. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Fuck, I already did that, and I made a whole video about it. Alright, one more time. Okay. Musical aliens versus greasers. Shit! So the asshole character, aside from our lead, graduated from sexist to ableist. And when Silas saw how badly Cheyenne was hurt by this, he turned into the fucking Hulk and beat the shit out of him. And honestly, I hate to admit it, that's kinda hot. Okay, I'll just say it. Listen to this shit. He slammed the asshole's face down onto the edge of the truck bed with the satisfying crunch of a broken nose. I'm usually not one for violence, but I'll never say no to a satisfying crunch. More MMA ASMR, please.
Alright guys, this is what a fractured rib sounds like. Shut the fuck up, you know what you did. You were screaming, makes it less satisfying.
Cheyenne is an unproblematic mechanic, and hearing her passion for all she does makes me die a little inside, for no matter how hard I try, I just wish she had a different love interest. But people love a rugged bad boy. I'll never understand it. Weirdly enough, if Silas acted similarly, but was a woman, yeah, I'd understand it. I would. I'm a hypocrite. I almost forgot Cheyenne was also a wolf person until this line essentially said, yeah, a human couldn't handle this freezing temperature, but Cheyenne could, thanks to her wolf side. Like, I needed that line to understand what was happening, but boy oh boy, did I mention she's a wolf, a she-wolf, a female wolf. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to read this whole series at some point because they will drop the strangest lore about this 7-book series. There was something eerie about the now abandoned ranch, about knowing that the people who used to live here had lost their lives due to the blood-sucking enemies here only a few years ago, not long past Christmas. Okay, well damn, shit. What a hook. It actually said sub-pack mate, and I didn't know what that meant, so I googled it. And there was only like 4 results, and one of them was this book. So did she just make that shit up? This is making me want to invent a word like frindle. I want a word where you look it up, and you go straight to my channel. And I fear that Butt Lovers is not that. I think that's in a lot of different places. Guys, Cheyenne is getting a little too relatable, and I don't like it. It was the fact that she copes with her stress and negative emotions by disappearing into her work for hours that got to me. Quote, time failed to matter, like it disappeared. Hey, stop that! I'm not supposed to relate to this! Here's where the real plot of this book picks up, and it starts with this line that I kind of don't understand. She'd been doing it so long now that it becomes second nature. The it in this sentence is her transforming into a wolf, as much as part of her as her autism. This thing that she can turn on and off, turning into a wolf and turning back into a human, is just as much part of her as something that's always a part of her? I'm not sure that's conveying what you want it to convey. But the next line clarifies, different and yet full of its own kinds of beauty and strength, which kind of gives me the same vibes as this shirt, which is kind of a sleigh. Wearing Athena P merch gives off the same vibes. They ran together as wolves, but when they turned back, they were in the nude. Silas was quiet for a bit, so I was forgetting how much I hated him. But oh my god, he sucks. He's dropping all this trauma on her and snarling, and she's very overwhelmed and almost starts stimming until she shames herself, forcing herself to mask because she's scared of his judgment. She does not feel safe. That cannot be a good sign. Concern counter. Yeah, and stay there. I have to act out the scene. How can you expect to be one of us when you keep pushing everyone away? Silas snarled. What the fuck does that mean? That, she said, pointing at him. The harshness in his face. That's what I mean when you do that. You can't expect anyone to like you, to want to be near you when you're snarling at them all the time. She ate. It makes people think you're grumpy and mean. And you're not. Not really. Damn it. Fuck. She was so close. She was so close to perfectly reading him like a book. Until I know you're not like that in here. In here. How do you know that? He's still like a semi-acquaintance. You barely know this fool.
This is how my hair should have been for the entire video. I was getting sweaty, and we don't have to talk about it.
Because they're stuck in a snowed-in house, Cheyenne does end up breaking down, which led him to giving her a bear hug and rocking her, which she did express that she wanted. Huge level of trust for someone you barely know, where one of the few things you do know about him is that the dude has anger issues. Also, I hate the way that this sweet moment is being described. Brought her firmly to his chest. If he could just hold all the pieces of her together, she might not break. I'm going to tally this on the counter and explain why. The rest of the book really tries to paint a picture of her as like a strong, independent woman, but holding her together, I don't know. The imagery chosen conveys someone who's fragile and needs to be fixed, and I think they're trying to have the love interests be parallels of each other, which isn't fair, because he lashes out. Her emotionally heightened moments aren't malicious. She doesn't lash out, and he's not holding her together like how she holds him together. I feel like that's a really unfair comparison. If you didn't think it was condescending before, just listen to this. He's holding her. It's alright, baby, just breathe. They're not in a relationship at this point. Why is he calling her baby? Could this be considered flirting? Now is not the time! The redness from how hard you're crying really makes your blue eyes pop. I was very afraid of where this story was going, like genuinely concerned about where this story was going, when Silas said, fuck me, it never turns off, does it? And he's referring to Cheyenne. And obviously, her feelings are hurt, and she says she's always been weird, but that's when Silas clarified, I didn't mean weird, I meant nice. Oh damn, Silas really dropped a, I always thought I might be bad, now I'm sure that it's true, cause I think you're so good, and I'm nothing like you, look at you go, I just adore you. A ballad to manic pixie dream girls everywhere. I love that song, I love Steven Universe. The fact that I referenced it for this book is cuckoo bananas, lock me up. I'm trying to take the good with the bad in this book, and I don't want to be too harsh, but it needs to be said, the sex scene, the first one, was just straight up bad. I never really addressed the smut a lot, and I try to say things as nicely and sillily as possible, as I said, but this shit was icky. She was begging for him to be direct with her, and then when he asks if she's okay with something while they're already doing it, she says, I think so. I think so? That sounds not 100% sure. Everybody freeze. Rewind. I know you're not fully human, but let's not act like animals. But would you believe me if I told you that I had my ass handed to me once again? This book keeps baiting me because now that they're getting into it, Cheyenne is expressing how much she's enjoying it. More than ever before, even stating that with previous partners, she was checked out. But now she's really present and into it, and I love that for her. But also, I hope healthy communication starts. That would really put me in the Christmas spirit. Hey, wait a second, where the fuck is the Christmas? Is it on the next page? Oh no, okay, not like that. He was hungry, and she was his Christmas feast. A present only he got to unwrap. Not a Christmas callback in the middle of them getting their Kris Kringled. Oh no! Mid-powwow, actually, they're wolves. Mid-bow-wow. She says that she's joining the military. And he's rightfully thrown off guard, concerned about her safety, and she literally admits, gee, I didn't think about the violence that came with joining the military. What? These are the things that have me concerned for her well-being, and I don't want to be condescending, and I don't want to take away her agency. So when Silas found out Cheyenne is autistic, he was worried he took advantage of her, but then realized she's an adult woman who can make her own decisions, which, yes, but also his communication is ass. And she didn't know joining the military would lead to violence. Like, when decision-making is being affected, I just get concerned, I'm sorry. Now I really want to read a romance novel with an autistic lead where the relationship is healthy, and their only proof isn't, trust me, bro. Also, this line, suddenly, it all made sense. Cheyenne's tender-hearted trust in him. I'm no autism expert, but that's not how you diagnose someone. I like your shirt. Oh wow, thanks. You're so kind. And tender-hearted even. Are you perchance autistic? What? I said I like your shirt. I mean, I don't know, maybe. I do like that Silas realized he wasn't good to her emotionally, but at the same time, you weren't good to her emotionally, even if she was neurotypical. This realization could have been sparked by something else. Not just, oh, she's autistic, I wasn't nice to her. You weren't nice to her, period. Like, all of a sudden, this dude is hyper-aware, an ally to women everywhere. Listen to this quote. He and the pack master were going to have a little discussion about that. About female pack members making their own choices, especially marginalized ones. Pardon? You think this fucking man knows what the word marginalized means? He was just growling at women. This dude's like, you don't understand. True equality is treating everyone like shit. Wow, feminist king over here. In fact, after this point, he's a totally different person. A welcome change, but an abrupt one. He's planning a whole Christmas date for them? Who is this man? Most wolf shifters only have 2 forms, human and wolf. I have 3 forms, human, wolf, and a human that isn't a complete fucking loser. Again, credit where it's due. This seems deeply personal. Tonally, it is fascinating to hear about gender being a diagnosis barrier in a book called Cowboy Wolf Christmas. Was not expecting that. Her being autistic is in fact talked more about than Cowboys, Wolves, and Christmas. Can you imagine if this book was called Autistic Cowboy Wolf Christmas? Wasted opportunity. Silas essentially asked Cheyenne to move in with him. Bro stuck his wolf face in her full moon. And now they're hearing wedding bells? Slow your roll, partner! Okay, stop trying to apply logic for a second because we're getting to the Christmas part. Finally. Silas is trying to make a gingerbread house, but his hands are too big and manly. Concern counter. Why are we sexualizing the fact that he can't do this? He's big, meaty claws. I know the whole point is we're supposed to find this man desirable, and maybe I'm a little fucked up for this, but I think it would be more effective if they leaned more into the pathetic aspect of him not being able to build a gingerbread house. My next post-it note reads, okay, wait, scratch that. The line, how was he supposed to convince her to stay if he couldn't even build a damn gingerbread house for her? That's perfect. That was what I was looking for. Incel to himbo redemption arc? Oh, this shit's ambitious. Why am I enjoying this? Page 81, we finally got a Grinch comparison.
Let's go!
I don't have the rest of him. You can find out the lore of how I got this in this video if you want. I have a second channel. I open mail sometimes. About 2 post-it notes ago, I was saying I was enjoying it.
Why am I enjoying this?
I lied. How do I describe how weirdly explicit this next part is without getting demonetized? Okay, what do you call a kind of dog? Breed! Okay, add an ing to the end of that. Breeding! Now say ink, but put a K in front of it.
Oh,
okay,
no.
You know where I'm going. You know where I'm going, right? I'm going to read this line as censored as possible so you can see how uncomfortable I am. Except now that he'd seen her with the pack's pups that morning, all he could think about, all he craved, was to bleep her up, take her bleep and bleep until he spilled his bleep into the depths of her womb. No, no, no. If you want to know how quickly they fell in love, I love you too, she whispered against his cheek. I may not have known it in those words, the moment I saw you locked in the pack's cells, but I knew we were headed there. Cheyenne, what the fuck? The moment I saw him in that jail cell, I knew he'd be my husband. Why? How did you know that? We have our first vampire fight on page 97, a mere 7 pages away from the end of this book. It's like the author was like, and they lived happily ever oh fuck, the vampires, I forgot. Okay, so also all that nonsense in the beginning about the Grey Wolf Pack leader not trusting Silas, he had all this paranoia about that. It was all in his head. They were so supportive of him. And you expect me to think that this man is neurotypical? Come the fuck on. If you were wondering what the plot of this book was, so he's angry, and they fall in love, and that's it. They didn't even finish, really, the fight scene. It was like she transformed into a wolf beside him, and they were like, let's take these guys down. I don't know how that fight ended. Are they okay? Did they survive? A Cowboy Wolf Christmas. That was a good time. If you're interested in owning a piece of Athena P merch, definitely check out the Indiegogo. The way I set it up is that if we reach the goal, it's happening, everyone's getting merch. If we don't reach the goal, no one gets charged. The only way you're going to get charged is if you want a shirt and we reach the goal. Now please enjoy this little ditty based on the beautiful romance novel we just read.
He might growl like a feral beast. He may get only coal instead of Christmas treats. But all I want under the tree is a werewolf boyfriend. Scooby-Dooby-Dooby-Doo. Take your Christmas concerns, then wrap them up with a bow. Check out my website, more shirtless men, whoa. All I want under the tree is a werewolf boyfriend. He'll sound like this. Please don't do that. Time disappears when you love what you do. When I love Christmas time, whoa. The only thing I love more than that is my werewolf boyfriend. He'll kringle my Chris and then snarl like a bitch, howling at my full moon. No silent night this Christmas, cowboy wolves loud as shit. Sing along to this classic Christmassy tune. Ooh, all I want under the tree. How angry could he be? Oh shit, he's just a furry. I wanted a werewolf boyfriend.